From 1867, Canada's prime focuses with immigration policies have been to increase the population, establish unsettled land, and to increase the economy. Immigration policies that met this criteria impacted immigration at the time by lowering immigration rates. An example of Canada appointing a policy which was to better the economy and not please immigrants is the Royal Commission of Chinese Immigration. The Royal Commission of Chinese Immigration was a policy appointed in 1885, and had multiple amendments after 1890. The goal of the policy was to regulate Chinese immigration to Canada. Since Chinese immigrants had overflowed into Canada, and were working for very little money, which translated into a lot due to the amount of Chinese immigrants. Since each individual wouldn't earn much, there was barely any tax to pay. Though as a group, the Chinese immigrants had a lot, yet didn't pay the appropriate amount of tax, resulting in no increasement of the economy. To better their economy, Canada appointed the RCCI policy, which placed the duty of $10 on each Chinese immigrant entering Canada. The policy only temporarily decreased the rate of Chinese immigrants. Ergo, in 1892, the Second Amendment of the RCCI was appointed, where the duty of $10 had increased to a duty of $50. And that didn't regulate the flow of Chinese immigrants. The Third Amendment of the RCCI was appointed in 1900, which raised the duty to $100. After that, in 1903, the Fourth Amendment caused the duty to be raised to $500 for the same reasons of the Third Amendment. This finally lowered the rate of new Chinese immigrants in Canada. All other immigration policies of Canada from 1890 to 1914 had the same impact as the RCCI, lowering immigration rates to slowly increase the population and economy, such as Royal Commission on Italian Immigration 1904 to 1905, Immigration Act 1906, Continuous Journey Regulation 1908, Ordering Council 1911. Immigration from 1890 to 1914 focused more on bettering Canada's economy, and raising the population rate to fit the likings of Canadian authorities through immigration. An example of an immigration policy appointed during 1890 to 1914 which focused on Canada's economy and its population rate is the Royal Commission on Chinese Immigration, which was discussed earlier. Immigration policies from 1971 began focusing on multiculturalism. An example of a policy which focused on multiculturalism is the 1971 Canadian Multiculturalism Policy. In the 1971 Canadian Multiculturalism Policy, Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau had appointed multiculturalism as an official government policy. The intention of doing so was to maintain cultural freedom, and to recognize various cultural contributions to Canada. The apparent focus of immigration has not changed since 1971, retaining multiculturalism as a priority of immigration. The difference in immigration from the time during 1890 to 1914, and today, is the main focus of immigration. The main focus of immigration from 1890 to 1914 was to better the economy, and the main focus of immigration today is to preserve Canada's multiculturalism. Many Canadians saw people from Central and Eastern Europe as strange and weird. This was because those people appeared too different in terms of their clothes, holidays, language, and food. This seemed too different from Canadians, so they would just be ignored, but mostly openly discriminated. Though this wasn't as bad as what happened to Asian immigrants, there was straight-up violence to Asian immigrants outside, in front of everyone. Many of the Far Eastern immigrants came as workers looking for jobs and worked on the most dangerous parts of the first transcontinental railway. It was said that at least someone died at every km of the track, but in total, at least 700 people died. Anti-Asian groups excluded Asians from public schools. They also tried to restrict the amount of land sold to Asians, and to severely limit the number of licenses given to Japanese fishermen. There were lots of anti-Chinese riots. Also, later on, there was a law that prohibited white women from working in restaurants, stores, and businesses owned by Chinese and Japanese Canadians. This is how immigrants were discriminated against during 1890 to 1914.